let's experiment. So everybody thinks abstract art is only experimentation, and I don't think that's the truth. I think sometimes you create like a style that you like to do, and sometimes you do that style. You say, okay, I want to do that style. That's what I'm going to do for a little while. And you create that way intentionally. It's still abstract. It's still intuitive. It's still doodling. It's still the same thing. But what we're going to do today is experiment. And one of the ways that I like to experiment, when I do stuff, I like to maybe combine different elements to see if there's anything there that I would like to add either to one or the other, or just change and create a new style of art that I like to do. So I sometimes do these, and then I sometimes do these, and I'm going to mash them together, and I'm going to see if maybe it works. Can I add elements of both to one drawing and create something interesting and new maybe that I'll do from in the future? So that's what I'm going to try and do. I hope that you do that. You pick a couple different things you like to do. Some people like to do like neurographic art, and then they like to do, I don't know, like a little abstract drawing kind of thing. And you can blend those together and create. I've done that many times, but this time I'm going to stick to these two, see if I can put them together and see how it goes. All right, let's get into it. All right, so I'm going to use the Canson Mixed Media Artboard. I haven't used this in a very long time, but I do like it. It's hard. It's a very thick board. Nothing would ever bend if you ever tried to. It's a wonderful board to use, but it's not 100% cotton. That is paper on top. It's pulp paper. So, and not that cotton paper isn't paper, but what I'm saying is it's pulp paper. You know what I mean? And it will pill if you go over it a ton, but you can get a decent amount of layers on this paper. You'll see, I scrub at the paper quite a bit. Nothing ever pills, nothing ever moves around. Everything works out fine, and in the end, everything played nice. So I was very happy with the supplies I'm using. And I also wanted to use the Derwent Graphitint for this because that gets a little splotchy, so I'm using the Graphitint pans, and it doesn't go on very evenly like maybe a watercolor would go on or something like that. Even an ink goes on very smooth, but this is very splotchy, and that's what I wanted because I wanted to create different forms and shapes inside that I can put all these lines in like I do with that other drawing. So I was okay with just starting with that. And everything blended wonderfully. I was able to find those little shapes I wanted to find and put in the detail that I really wanted to put in. And I hope you enjoy. You'll see as I go through with this. I wanted to start, I started with the fibrous thing first. I put those in first, but I added the elements of the other drawing with all those little contour lines in there. And I added those elements in here. Now, sometimes I do something similar with these, but I've never gone to this extreme. There's no way to do this one real time because it was like a 3.5 hour ordeal. And I cannot talk for 3.5 hours. There's no way I could do that. I wouldn't have anything interesting to say for that long. Not that I have anything interesting to say anyway, but I don't have really much interesting to say for that long of time. There's just no way that I could do that. And my voice would probably hurt at the end of it. Sometimes hurts after I talk for a half hour. So I can't imagine how it would feel after 3.5 hours of drawing. So but really this is all about the contrast and about putting in that detail and adding a little bit more than I normally would. And just experimenting and see if I can make those two things work together. After I was done, I went and looked at it and I said, yeah, there's a couple more details I would have liked to have put in. I like to define this area a little bit more or that area a little bit more. But it's still, everything worked out great. I'm very happy with it. And I hope you just sit back and see how this develops. It's a very interesting piece. And I just hope that you'll enjoy as much as I enjoyed creating it because this was fun. I'm definitely going to do some more of these in the future. But I'm also going to go the other way with it. I'm going to go more with the drawing of the contour lines, those shapes, and then add some of this fibrous stuff into that and try and do it the other way where I'm putting more of that first and then just adding the fibrous stuff later. So I just quickly want to mention I've done several podcasts now. I think I did 1, 2, and 3 so far is up on the channel. So the other ones are recorded. I have 4 and 5 recorded. You'll probably at least see 4, maybe 5 before you even see this thing. But anyway, I did 1, 2, 3. The first one took off. Everybody loved it. It was great. It did great on the channel. And then the second one did much worse. And the third one has done much worse. It's like the people that watch the channel watch it, but new audiences really don't want to see it. They're kind of annoyed with it. It doesn't matter to me, because sometimes you have to create things for your current audience and not for new audiences. And I love to do that too. So I'm still going to do some, but I might change the subject matter a little bit because this particular subject is not very popular with people. And that's, I understand there's not a whole lot more to say. There are more conspiracy theories, but I'm not going to address all of them right now. I might come back to them. I've actually invented one myself that you might see coming up. That might be number 6, and I might just do that one and then skip over to something else with the conspiracies. But I may do that, and then someone also suggested maybe I just sit there and eat a bag of chips, and that'll be the podcast, and I think I could do that too. I don't mind doing that. If that's fine, if that's what you want to see, I can eat a bag of chips while I'm just recording a podcast, and it can be like I don't know, like an ASMR kind of thing. Are those the right initials? Because I don't want to say anything weird. There could be young people. So, anyway, I'm definitely appreciating the support that I'm seeing from all of you. I love your comments. I love when you talk to me in the comment section. You start giving me some information. So I may either already have done or will be doing a premiere video. When you see something, it's like, oh, it's going to be a premiere. That means I'm going to watch it with you. The time it goes live, I will be in the comments, and I'll watch it with you. I probably should have said that before I did one, but I think by now I might have already done one. I'm not sure. I don't know exactly how that's going to fall in the schedule, but I may do one on a weekend and then on like a Saturday or something, and I'll watch the video with you, and I'll be in the comments, and you can ramble on right there with me. I'll put a notice out on a Thursday. That way you have some time to kind of, okay, I know that I'm going to do this on Saturday, and you can be there. If you want to be there, I would love to talk to you live while you're watching the video. That would be wonderful as well. And I'd like to do that with you. I think that would be fun. I think it would be fun to interact while you're watching a video, and we can comment back and forth. So I have a couple of ideas that I was just going to throw out to you. You let me know if you think maybe you would like to actually see these kinds of videos. And I may have already put out one of these videos by now. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing from week to week. I try and leave these longer drawings, not longer necessarily for the video itself, but I like to use these drawings and put them out on a Monday and then do something else during another part of the week. So I kind of schedule them out on Mondays. So this one could already be scheduled. You've already seen one that I may be recording in my future, but for you it was the past. You already saw it, and now you're seeing this one in the future, which is my past because I've already done it. So that's just an interesting and fun thing to think about. Think about that for a second, and let's move on. Okay, now I want to talk about this. I may have already spoken about this in another video. I don't remember, but I didn't check it off my list. So I don't know if I actually spoke about it or if I just maybe thought about talking about it and talked my way through the conversation just to see what I would say. And then now I'm remembering like, oh, I must have already told you, but I never really told you. So this could be a repeat. I hope it's not. Let's see how this goes. So there's a line that nobody talks about when it comes to artists like self-care. And sometimes they do, but there's a difference between self-care and just being selfish. As a matter of fact, I want to correct myself that I know that people do talk about both of these things. They just don't distinguish the difference between them, and I think that's very important. I think you have to make that distinction. Now, most artists or people in general, for that matter, they're told it's okay to be selfish when it comes to your mental stability. And here's the problem. And this is the difference between self-care and selfish care. Now, I am all about making sure that you're in a good mental state. I want to just say that up front. The truth is There are so many people in the world claiming that they need to look out for themselves that they do anything, if anything, that seems even a little bit uncomfortable. Then they just say, screw everyone else. I'm only looking out for me because I need to take care of myself. And then they just run away from the situation. Everyone's always running away from something. Oh, this is a toxic person. I got to run from them. And it's all they do is run from things. They never actually sit there and deal with things. So now I want to share a little secret with you. It's not much of a secret, but if you give selfish people a legitimate excuse that they can be selfish, then they will claim that excuse all day long. Now, let me give you a good example. So this is a little overused, but it's basically the default answer now. So before I do this, let me say, if you are legit being abused mentally or whatever, that you got to deal with that. You have to, that's not okay. You got to just handle that and get out of that situation. That's a real instance where you got to run. Otherwise, nothing will get better. But that's a different subject. That's not what I'm talking about. So, you need to value yourself. You can't devalue yourself and let people do that to you. So that's aside from what I'm saying. Please don't get angry with the rest of what I'm saying. Keep that in mind, okay? Just because someone is critical of you, or they critical of the work you're doing, or they have an opinion that you don't like and they disagree with you, that does not constitute a toxic relationship on its own. I hear a lot how social media is so toxic, or this group or that group is so toxic, but there isn't any example of given why. It's just basically they disagree with you, and because they disagree with you, they're toxic. You got to run away from them. And I understand online bullying is a real thing. I know it is. I know people can jump all over someone, make them feel like garbage. I'm not saying you should put up with that. What I'm saying is there's a difference between someone just disagreeing with you and someone actually being abusive in that way. So I hear artists all the time talk about how they receive abuse in the comments. And people are like, look, I don't really like your video, or I don't like your art, or I don't like whatever. And so they get so obsessed with, oh, I'm hearing all these negative comments. I just need to take a break from whatever. Take a break from social media. Take a break from it. Because they can't handle it. They can't, any criticism at all, they just can't handle. But how about teaching those people to deal with the situation so they can live their life without being so fragile, without being so breakable, where someone just mentions something, you lose your mind over it. And just for the record, just so you know, if you're on social media and you're getting straight up hate comments, that's a sign that you've made it. It doesn't mean you can handle it, but it's a sign that you're actually making an impact. And the reason why is because your influence has now gone beyond the people who are drawn to you, and you start to hear from people who don't even like what you're doing. So you've talked to all the people, and whatever social media algorithm thing has pushed your opinion to all the people that would agree with you, and now it's actually reaching out to people who wouldn't agree with you, and now you're getting straight up angry comments about things like that. So it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you need to feel good when that happens. I do. When something like that happens, I'm like, oh yeah, it's pretty cool. Someone really hates me because they don't like the kind of art that I do. That's kind of weird, but I understand it. That's okay. I don't mind it. People, that's fine. People are weird. So sometimes that happens. And all the largest creators and artists and innovators, they've all experienced that before, way before the internet was even a thing. That's where hate mail comes from. That's where it comes from. And crowds booing you on stage and things. And people would actually go get physical mail, and there would be hate comments in the mail. It's mail. It's not a comment on a screen, but it's a hate comment in the mail. They'd get that. They're like, oh, people hate me. That's wonderful. So I think I've taken a little bit of a turn here, but the direction that I wanted to go is that once in a while I should just write this stuff down so I don't take these turns on these topics and just go off in a different direction. But sometimes they're not the issue. Sometimes you're the issue, and you're the one who needs to work on themselves, not the other way around. So I don't understand why people think they're so important that other people need to change because of how they feel about something. So I think some way about I think abstract art, I think is art. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's a beautiful thing. I love doing it. I love talking to people about it. It's a wonderful thing. But if someone just straight up says, I don't think you're a real artist because of what you do, it doesn't make any sense to me, I don't have a problem. I don't have to run and hide from that. I can be, okay, that's fine. I understand your opinion. That's fine. You don't need to have an opinion the same as mine. You go think what you want to think, and I'll go think what I want to think. There's no problem here. I don't have to go run and hide. They didn't just shatter my ego. And again, I don't have an ego very much, so I don't really think much of myself anyway. As far as that goes, I don't sit there and, well, I'm the greatest thing in the world, and you have to respect me, and I don't do any of that stuff. By the way, respect is earned. It's not given. As soon as someone meets you, you don't deserve their respect. You may deserve some common courtesy, but you don't deserve respect. Respect is something you get because you actually deserve it. So anyway, let me just give you a quick example. Like, someone could say that something, they could say something, maybe it offends you. Maybe they say something like, oh man, that guy is so dumb. And you, for some reason, know someone who is medically termed dumb, which they don't use that term anymore. This basically means someone can't speak. That's what they call them. But you say, oh, I know someone out there who can't speak, and you saying that guy is dumb just offends me like crazy. Listen, they're not trying to offend you personally. They're giving you whatever. They're not really. But let's say they did do that, and then they come to you and they say, listen, I am so sorry. I need to give you a genuine apology. I'm very sorry. That won't happen again. I did not mean to offend you. Let's say they actually do that. I'm not saying that people actually do that most of the time, but let's say someone actually does that. But for some reason, that isn't good enough for you. Who the hell are you? Now, this should have been like a 5-minute thing. It turns into a year of anger and frothing at the mouth and think the issue should have been resolved by now, but in that moment, you just keep holding on to it. You turn it into a major, overly dramatic incident. You need to figure out something more they need to do in order to atone for the offense that they offended you for what they said. This is an instance where the person who said the thing doesn't even need to work on themselves. They said something, they apologized, they said it wouldn't happen again, and now it's your issue. You need to deal with how you deal with what just happened and how to move on from that. You have to be the person to look at yourself and say, why does that bother me so bad that now I'm going to hold that against this person for years? It doesn't make any sense, and this never happened to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Listen, if you talk to me at all, I need grace from you because I will undoubtedly say something that will offend you. How do I know that? Because I have to everyone I've ever known, and you're no different. That's just how it is. I will say something that bothers you at some point in time because I just say stuff, not trying to say things insensitively, but sometimes I say stuff. And if I say something and it bothers you, understand it was not intentionally to bother you. I never meant to do that, and I will apologize, but I need you to be forgiving when I do that. If we can't do that thing, then this is not going to work, and that's how I handle all of my relationships with people. If I have to say something, you will never forgive me, then we're never going to get along. This is never going to work out. Now, my wife is amazing. I will tell you, in the last 25 years, has not once thrown anything back in my face after I've said the words, I'm sorry. Not one time in 25 years. And that says something about her because I know I say some pretty dumb things sometimes, but she knows I mean it. When I say, oh crap, I'm sorry, I did not mean to offend you, or I didn't mean to say that and bother you, she knows I mean that, and it's wiped clean. She never brings it up ever again. And I think that's how we need to treat people. I think that's very important. Now let's get back to the original. My brain works weird sometimes. I told you I should write this stuff down, but let me talk about when you hear someone give you a criticism. Let's talk about art. We're bringing it back to art because we have to do that. This is an art show, and we have to do that. So let's say someone criticizes your artwork, and they say, you're an abstract artist. I don't think you're a real artist. I don't respect abstract art. I don't think it's a good thing. That kind of a criticism is not something you should even talk about. That's not even, you don't even start to defend that. You don't need to, because it's just a statement. It's just they're not having a discussion with you. They're not trying to see your point of view. They don't want to hear from you after that. They basically just want to put you down in some way. And I don't have a problem with that when people do that to me. Like I said, that's just how they feel. And I'm fine with that. They can feel that way and go on with their life. And I'm going to go on with my life. I'm not going to let it affect me. But in every criticism, I try and listen if something is actually legitimate. Is there something they're saying that holds water, that I need to look at myself? If they said, hey, look, I didn't like that last piece because you used these colors, they don't make any sense together, and I don't like how that worked together. Now that's a legitimate criticism. I don't, instead of feeling so personal about it, like they just attacked me to my face, they just keyed my car or something like that. Instead of doing that, I'm going to say, maybe I need to look at this. Did I use a color palette that didn't work together? Maybe I did. Maybe I did it on purpose sometimes, because listen, I do stuff on purpose. Like in this one, I put that little yellowish green. It's not a greenish yellow. It's more of a yellowish green in there. And I put it in there, and I probably shouldn't have because it doesn't match with the other colors that are in the palette. But I did it anyway. I don't think it looks very bad, but I did it as on purpose to kind of clash a little bit with the other colors around it. If I was doing this and someone said I want all harmonious colors and I was doing it for someone, I probably would not put that in there. But I did because I thought it added a little bit of contrast in there, a little bit of clash with color, that maybe it pops a little bit more from behind, and I put it way in the back so that it comes out from behind. That's what I decided to do. But if someone said to me, hey, look, I really didn't like this because that color was in there, that's a legitimate criticism. I understand it. Or if they said, look, I don't understand, you developed this side and this side and this side, but you didn't really develop that one, and I don't understand why you didn't do this over here when you could have done this. I get that. If it's composition, they're like, oh, you weighed it too heavy to one side, you should have spread it out a little bit more over here and done that a little bit like. That's legitimate criticism that I can look at and say, maybe you're right, maybe I need to look at that. I'm not saying that I have to, you don't have to have an answer for everything right away. So you say something like, oh, that's the first time I've really heard that. Let me examine that, and I'll get back to you. If the person really wants to talk to you. Maybe they're just telling you so that you know and they don't want to talk to you again. But either way, it's okay. I appreciate your criticism. Thank you. A while back, I had someone comment about a video that I did, and they said, I don't think what you're doing is very good. I don't think the abstract art that you're doing is really good. It doesn't appeal to me. That's fine. That's a legitimate criticism. I know it seems like that's not a legitimate criticism, but it is. All it's telling me is that person does not appreciate my style of art. It's not a negative knock against them. It's not a negative knock against me. It's just that what I like to do, that person is not into. That's fine. We have to, as artists, you're going to put art out there. You have to learn to take criticism. And I think that's why so many of us don't put our art out there, because we don't want to take that. It's vulnerable now. You put your art out there. I know I've said this 100 times, and I'm going to just repeat myself. I didn't mean to work this into the conversation, but I'm going to. You are not your art. That's not you on the page. It's an idea you had. It's just a reflection of an idea. If someone doesn't like it, they're not saying they don't like you. They just didn't like your idea. You're going to have bad ideas. It's not a big deal. Just separate yourself. Separate your ego from what you're putting down on the page. You can even love it. You can put it down on the page. You absolutely love it. You want to show everybody. You think it's the greatest thing you've ever done. And someone looks at it and says, that's not really for me. That's not an insult for you. That just means that's not what they're into. Say, oh, thank you. I appreciate the feedback. Some people like it, some people don't. I get it. No problem. Thank you that's it. Just thank you for your opinion. You're done. And you move on. It's not a big deal. You don't have to be scared to do things. Everybody's always scared to do things. Don't be scared. Just do it. And you'll get over it much quicker. So in the future, I'm going to try and hone these conversations a little better. I mean, my brain needs like a GPS to stay on track, and I lose the signal, it reroutes me. And I swear I've already done this talk before, but I'm just doing it again because I think I even remember saying those words. And if I didn't, it's just because my brain's doing that to me, and that's what I'm doing. So you tell me if you've heard this before. But basically, this is what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to tell you, we have to stop being so fragile. Just, if someone offends you, get over it quickly and don't let it affect your life. Let them deal with that. That's their issue. There's nothing wrong there. If it's a legitimate criticism, then you need to look at it and say, maybe I need to look at this. Maybe that what they're saying is legitimate. If it's not, just move on. Don't worry about it. Don't waste your energy on that. It's not a big deal. And you don't have to remove that person from your life either. You don't need to say, that's it, I'm never talking to you again, you're garbage to me, you said one thing that I didn't agree with, that I don't like, that I somehow, for some reason, was offended by, that I'm never talking to you again. Unless they are purposely trying to offend you, then I'd say, yeah, go ahead and move on from that person. But if they just say something, they accidentally offend you, or they say something that they wouldn't take as offensive, but you did, just give a little grace to that person. Just make sure that they understand, well, it's a little offensive, please don't do that again, and see what happens. And if they say, look, this is just my opinion about this, I'm not trying to shove anything in your face, this is just how I feel about it, then that's it. That's how they feel about it. It's not a big deal. It doesn't mean they hate you, and doesn't mean you have to hate them. Just get past things. And if you're an artist, you put your stuff out there, you don't worry about all the stuff you think you're going to hear. You just put it out there. If someone doesn't like it, it's just not their thing. Is any of this related at all? Well, if it is, thumb up the video and let me know that yes, maybe something was related in the many things that I said. I don't know if any of them even go together. They should have been 3 separate talks. I'm just putting them all together now because that's what my brain does. So I just put a lot of things together and get them out in one sentence. And sometimes people look at me and they say, I just don't understand what you're talking about. You started over here, then you went this way, and now you're ending over here. And you're acting like it's all the same conversation, and it's not. But sometimes that's what I do. I know you're probably sick of hearing it, but I'm going to throw this up at the end again. If you would like to join our community, go to illustrationsbypete.com. You can come in, you can put your own artwork on the site and promote it. You can find some inspiration in the free reference photos. You can just use them however you want in your artwork. You do not need to credit me. Or you can come into the forums and talk to some people and maybe give some advice and maybe find a little bit of information that helps you. So come check us out. All right, that's about it for me. I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.